Hey guys, Chris from Provo Beast Audio Installation, and in today's video we're going to be doing a backup camera on this 2007 Toyota 4Runner. Now in this install we're going to show you how to integrate a license plate mounted backup camera to an existing aftermarket radio. Let's get started. Alright, so we're here at the bench. Now the camera kit that we're installing here today is the Nitika license plate mountable camera, the WD779. What's cool about this camera kit, it also comes with a universal bracket that it comes pre-mounted on, but we've migrated our camera over to the license plate bracket that's included within the box. This allows us to snag the license plate bolts, mount our camera, and then run our wiring through the hatch itself, and we have an extension harness that connects to our camera plug here, and this end runs all the way up to our aftermarket radio. Now with our camera kit, there's a couple of ways that you can connect this. You can power the camera simply just off the power and ground of the reverse light, which would mean this camera only would be functional when in reverse only. For some radios that's just fine. Other times, depending on the radio you're putting in, it may have the function to use that camera and other times besides reverse. Instead, we're going to power our camera off of accessory, or so the camera is on when the key is on, not only just in reverse. That requires a few more additional connections, but we're going to show you how to do that here in this video. So first thing we need to do is go ahead and tear apart the hatch so we can mount our camera, run this wire through the factory grommet into the hatch, and then we got to make our connection at the reverse light and run this all the way to the radio. Let's get started. Alright, so we went ahead and put a little hole in that grommet. We fed our wire through. Now we can reassemble our bezel here. Get it all remounted up with the screws back in. Got our backup camera all there, mounted, everything cleaned up. We just need to get the plate on. So what we've done here is that's where our wire came through. We went ahead and reassembled that trim piece. That's all back. Now we need to run our wire all the way down to the cavity of the radio. Now what's tricky about these 4Runners is the back glass slides on in. So we have to be very conscientious of that glass coming in here, as we can't get our wires in the way or it'll destroy the wiring. So we have to hug any existing wiring that we see because we know that's a safe location. So we'll be zip tying this up. We're going to split loom it here. We have to run it along here. Then we got to fish it down a channel, which essentially goes down through here. We pop this out so we can fish her wire through here. Has to go through this rubber boot into the cabin. Once it's under here, we can get up underneath. We got to run it down, and we got to tap into a reverse light down here, and then run all our cabling forward towards the aftermarket radio. So let's go ahead and start running that cable. With this all out, is I grabbed our notorious metal hanger. We love using these in the garage, and we fished that hanger all the way up this channel, and it came out here. Now you'll see that there is a track for the window. This can't go in front of the track at all. Has to be as close to that factory loom as possible, because again, as that window rolls down, we don't want it to slice or impact the window or cut our wiring in any way. So what we're gonna do now is we're just gonna get this all taped up so we can fish that down this channel out our little access hole, and then we'll work our way through that grommet. Right, so we finished zip tying our loom. Was way down that channel, staying completely away of that track. It's right down that channel along with the factory loom. Comes out here, we cut our split loom a little short. Now we got our little hanger here. We fed it through, as you can see. And on this end, we got everything zip tied. We're gonna coat this really well in some soap and water. And then we're gonna pull it on through this end, down through the hole here in the roof, and then we're going to pull out this so we can feed our wire out from the headliner. All right, so with that now fed all the way through, we can now reseat our grommet there. The holder back in here. And now we're working right there. So now we can pull the grommet, run it all the way down here. We'll pop this little cover off so we get access to the wiring to the reverse light. So with this down, pulled out our weather stripping just a little bit, ran our cable down there. You can kind of see it tucked just up underneath the panel. And then we came out here. We have our power and ground as well as our video cable. So we can now tuck this all the way back up. There's one plug that goes into your tail light. That plug has quite a few wires in here. Has a white with a black stripe, which is actually the ground for the entire light. And then this red with the yellow stripe is our reverse light power. Now, this is where your install may differ depending on the way and the option you hook up your camera. We could actually simply just hook our camera ground to our white with a black stripe and our camera red to the red with a yellow stripe, and that'll power the camera. And not only will it power the camera when that light's on, but also this red wire runs in parallel with our video wire and connects into that red wire. So also it's going to provide a trigger wire. So this would go to our purple white on the back of the radio. The downside of that configuration is the camera is only going to get power when the light's on, and that's it. So if your radio has the option to view the camera when not in reverse, it's going to get a black image. It's not going to work. So alternatively, it's a little bit more work, but it's worth it if we just ground our camera, and instead here, we're not going to power our camera at this light. We're going to tape this off. And instead, we're going to reverse the direction of this wire and use this as our accessory. So this will connect to an accessory power back behind the radio. The downside of this method is we're using this trigger wire instead as an accessory power wire because it runs in parallel with the other red wire. So there's no extra wire for a trigger in this age of this vehicle. There's no trigger wire provided back behind the radio or in the mirror or by a smart harness. It's an old analog car. So we're going to have to run an additional wire with this as a trigger wire. And we have about 15 feet or so of some 18 gauge purple wire, which we're going to tap into our positive here on the reverse light. So our purple wire is going to see 12 volts when in reverse, and we're going to run this along, and then this other end is simply going to go to accessory power back behind our new radio. So that's our plan of attack. So what we've done here is we just stripped the wire back, as you saw. We poked a hole through it and threaded our wire through it. We put our ground on the white with a black stripe, and a reverse trigger wire we did with a red with a yellow stripe. And we soldered onto there, nice solid connection. We're going to tape it up and relume our harness. And that's really it. We'll plug the harness back in and run our trigger wire and our video wire with the integrated accessory power all the way up to back behind the radio. All right, so we ran this all the way down, up and through, into the dash here. All right, so we're back here in the car, and we are now ready to finish installing our backup camera to our aftermarket radio. Now, obviously, the dash is torn apart, and we didn't even cover the radio removal or radio replacement in this video because our first video covers all that in great detail. So check that video out. We'll link it down in the description. We'll just walk you through step by step on how to remove and replace your existing radio in your 4Runner. So let's go ahead and make our final connections here. Now we have our trigger wire. Remember, this goes to the reverse light positive wire. And we have accessory because we've opted to power the camera via accessory versus just on the reverse light positive. So on our aftermarket harness adapter, when we installed this radio, what we did specifically is we left our reverse wire out because again, it's not available here in the dash, hence why we ran our reverse light trigger wire here. So what we're gonna do is combine our purple wires, nice crimp in it, perfect. So that's going to trigger the radio as soon as that reverse light sees power. Also on our radio harness, we combined in an accessory wire, red wire. We just ran it in parallel with the accessory wire of our harness adapter. And we're going to grab this red wire. Perfect. Now this end goes into the camera input on the back of the radio. Pioneers, they're brown. Most other manufacturers, they're just yellow. This is camera in on the back of the radio. So with those two connections now made, we can get our radio back in the dash. With the radio all back in, let's always make sure that our settings are set up for our backup camera here. This one, we got our reverse camera to normal. You can adjust the guidelines. It looks like everything is on for the backup camera. Now we'll just go ahead and put it in reverse. There is our awesome image. And you can adjust the guidelines as needed there. Pull it out of reverse. And again, remember, because we went ahead and wired the camera to accessory, technically it's still on. So let's say we're driving down the road, we want to see what's behind us. We can hit rear camera. We have that feature in this radio to check on the camera when not in reverse. Now that's about it for this backup camera install. If you want to see any more on this 4Runner, we have actually quite a few videos over the years of installs. We even have a JBL version if you want to check that out, replacing speakers, factory sub, so on and so forth. We'll link those videos down in the description if you want to see them for yourself. If you like any of the parts that we used in today's application, we'll link those parts down in the description as well. Thanks again for watching. Be sure to hit the like button if you like what you saw, and don't forget to subscribe. We post great content on the channel all the time. And we'll see you in the next video.